Welcome to Circular Firing Squad. I'm Marty Gensius, a counseling faculty at Kent State University and a host for Circular Firing Squad. We've got only 3 members this time, but 6 questions. So we're going to double up on rounds and 6 answers for each question. Each of the squad members generates a question, this time 2 questions, and that we'll all have to answer, ranging from the scholastic to the bombastic. Let's see who's with us with this episode.
Hi, everybody. I'm Britt Pollard-Kozadowski, professor of counseling at Indiana University of Pennsylvania.
Hi, everybody. Elliott Ingersoll, professor of counseling at Cleveland State University and host of Apply Topically.
And with that being the roundup, Britt, you've got the first question.
Here we go. We hear all the time about the importance of following your heart or following your dreams when it comes to work in particular. Do you buy into this concept? Why or why not? What do you think?
That's a good one. I've gone back and forth on this in my life, but I would say ultimately, yes, I do buy into it because I have a built-in sabotage system. If something is just out of character for me, or if something's out of the existential realm, some part of me will sabotage it because there's a teleological trajectory in another direction, and it's always where I want to be. And when I finally ended up at Kent State, I remember standing in line to register, and I said, hey, I'm just going to do whatever I want here. I'm going to take the classes I want. I'm going to write the papers I want. And if they want to chuck me out, fine. But if not, maybe this is a good fit. And of course it was a good fit. But yeah, so that was something I would say, yes, I do buy that.
This is a tough question for me because I was, Elliott has it well figured out, apparently in his life plan. But with me, I can't tell the difference between my heart and my dreams because I'm very passionate about the dreams that I have. So if it was heart, head, other people's opinion, dreams, those would probably, the other people's opinion would be the thing that I'd have a tendency to ignore, and probably head I'd have a tendency to ignore. But heart and dreams it's difficult. And I think of the things that I've followed, it's sort of using Elliott's logic. When I came here, it's sort of, I'm going to be here at Kent State as a faculty member, and I'm going to do what I do and what I enjoy doing. And if it's not good enough for tenure and promotion, there's a little restaurant across the street from Whitehall that I can get a job at and find my satisfaction in there. Part of that was I wasn't going to move my kids again. And second was I just don't want to have to be something different than who I am in order to meet some external standards. So yeah, I follow both my heart and my dreams because they're the same.
Makes sense. Thank you both. So this question is something I've grappled with for years. The first time I ever taught a career counseling course, we watched a clip of Mike Rowe with Dirty Jobs. I don't know if y'all have seen that show. And there's an episode where he talks about, and I'm probably going to get the term wrong, but it's like this peripatetic philosophy of, can you really follow your heart? What if your heart is telling you to do something you're just not good at or that you don't have access to professionally? And so I've thought about this time and time again. And I've also thought about it repeatedly when I've had students in counseling who have said somewhere along the way, I don't think this is the right fit for me. And how do I help to counsel them out when maybe it's not the right fit? So I've really grappled with this one too. I would say ultimately, I do think following your heart is pretty important, particularly when it's telling you what you maybe shouldn't be doing, or that you need to pursue something else. So I think I agree with it too. But it's taken me a while to come to that. I've really grappled with this, and like you, Elliott, kind of been in different spots with it over the years. So thank you both.
No, and just to tag on, there's so many periods in life where I thought I loved something or someone, and it was a legitimate love in the moment, but it was it was tactical. It wasn't strategic. And I think the heart stuff here, I interpret it as more strategic.
Yeah. That makes sense.
All right, I guess it's back to me. Have you been teaching and felt you were totally, quote, in the zone, end quote? What were your zone symptoms? Was it simply random, or can you cultivate it?
That's a great question. Yeah, I hope everybody has the opportunity to feel that they're in the zone, whatever the experience is. I've been teaching group work as of probably the last 4 or 5 years, and it's in group work, particularly when I'm doing process observation, that I feel I'm really in the zone. I sort of feel like I'm speaking truths to the group, and their attention and their sort of like wowness, and the fact that they're able to take that process observation and put it to use, hopefully the next time they do a group. So there's a little bit of that for me. To get into the zone, I kind of have to set aside a lot of my head and just get into sort of a Zen space to be able to hear things well, to be able to pick up different kinds of things well. It also happened to me just this last week. I came home from a board meeting from an association, and I was asked to substitute process observe. And as it turns out, I'm rotating off the board. So this was going to be my last board meeting. And I actually started off my process observation by saying, the luxury that I have is that if you speak the truth, you have a horse standing by the door. So I'm not coming back. So it gives me some freedom to speak the truth. I wound up doing 2 of maybe the 4 process observations over the weekend because the person doing it couldn't make the early run. And I had folks coming up to me telling me that was just incredible. And I don't know what it was, but I guess I was sort of in the zone and listening to some of the things that people were saying. So it's that sense of I have to get in that mental space where my mind is really kind of clear to be able to pick up that stuff that is where I feel like I'm teaching at a different level.
Yeah, I love this question. And I also love the term zone symptoms. I might be stealing that at some point. I'm really fortunate, I think, because I have found my professional match or my vocation. I think I love teaching like I've loved nothing else professionally in my life. And so I would say I find myself in the zone when I'm teaching more than I find it anywhere else in the work that I do. And I would say probably 90% of the time in class, I feel like I'm in the zone. And sometimes it takes me some effort to get there. But I think the students are really what drive me there. And I notice that my zone symptoms are when they're engaged, they're laughing, they're getting it, things are clicking, and it just feels so natural between all of us. I love to just be with them as part of a group and just experience, I think, that group sense of cohesion. And when I can tell that they feel like we're in it together, truly, I think that's when I feel most in the zone. Interestingly, I had a class this past week where I felt anything but in the zone, and I have a doctoral co-instructor, and she and I have been processing throughout the week about what felt off or, why it felt differently than other classes we've taught together. And I don't know that we've nailed that down yet, but it's interesting when you feel like that's really the place where you're the strongest and that doesn't happen. To process and to take a beat and kind of think about what's going on here. So I'm kind of reflecting on that right now. But I think if we're laughing, we're not taking ourselves too seriously and time is flying by, I think that's when I can tell, okay, we hit the zone today. Yeah. Thanks.
No, I love both these answers. I think for me too, it's obviously the students are such a huge part of it. We're doing something as an organism, it feels like. I think Chris Beisch from Youngstown State, he had a book, The Classroom as Organism, and he taught philosophy and mysticism, but it was a good topic for him because every group's unique. And I think when it happens, to me, it's like when a love emerges in my heart, it just does. And when it happens, it just does. I think I like Marty's comment about being clear-minded. So there's things I can do to increase the probability that if that's ready to happen, I'm able to, be part of it. So there's that kind of, and you allude that as well, Britt, with your prep with the students and everything. So yeah, but it's magic when it happens. And I like to believe in magic like that.
I think the question goes to me. What, if anything, is your fear of getting old?
My answer to this has shifted so much in the past few years. And I think I've mentioned here that I'm turning the big 4-0 this summer. So I know Marty's waving his hands, rolling his eyes. So for me, age is really on the brain. And I will say, I'm not freaking out about turning 40, but I am thinking about it a lot. And I hear myself talking about it a lot. So for those of you out there who have been the unfortunate recipient of those conversations, I apologize. You're going to hear about it again. I think something else I've talked a lot about here is the passing of my mom. So she died in 2020. She was only 59. And I think that was really a catalyst for me to appreciate getting older. And I wonder how I'd be feeling about 40 had that not happened in my world. And I think I just now appreciate it. I'm not really one of those people that has a big fear of death or, what happens when we die. I feel okay and pretty solid about those things. So for me, it's just a gift. I think I'm more afraid of not getting old. I think that's just a very real thing for me. So I take it as it comes. Let's hope 40s are a heck of a lot better than the 30s. Boy, were they chaotic.
I think a lot of people have I call it a mathemagical number, where I had a friend who 40 was his mathematical number, and he bought a red sports car, and that made him happy. And I was like, he could afford it. Hey, why not? Mine was 60, and my partner had a birthday party for me, which was wonderful because I kind of needed help getting past that, because there's no way you can call that middle age. But back to the question, I think there's things that incapacity is frightening to me. That song, "Whoa, death, won't you spare me over for another year? I'll stop your legs so you can't walk. I'll lock your jaw so you can't talk." I mean, that's a scary freaking song, man. That stuff scares me, that incapacity, I think. And I got to watch the call of alcohol. I had to quit drinking after COVID. I couldn't process it. The long COVID, but that call is always there. It's like, well, you could take the edge off. But we got ways to deal with it. But as I get older and I have more time on my hands, I imagine that voice will still be there, and I'll have to find new ways to keep it at a distance.
You say everybody's got that magic number. My magic number is either 68 or 92. My father and brother both died at the age of 68. I'm 66. So, what do I fear most? My 68th year. And past that, my mother lived till she was 92. Given those numbers and what side of the equation I'm going to fall on, I think for me it's losing my mental capabilities. I can tell my memory. I don't remember faces and names like I used to. Go to conferences. I used to be rattle off. Once I met somebody, I used to be able to rattle off their names as soon as I saw them a year later. That's just not there for me. And sometimes I get stuck trying to organize my thoughts or organize those memories. But I think I still have good practicing mental capabilities, as my mother did all the way until she was 92. So that's the big fear for me, is that I'm going to lose the ability to do the cognitive stuff, not necessarily the memory stuff, but the cognitive stuff that I'm comfortable doing.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Just to tag on to that question really quickly, I'm thinking about a couple of faculty members we also had recently who reached retirement age and unfortunately either passed away or got sick before they were able to enjoy retirement at all. And so that is certainly always looming for me, and thinking about work-life balance and how do I invest more personally to ensure I'm enjoying my life before, just thinking I have to get to retirement before I can do that. So that is a factor for me too, I would say. I don't know that it's a fear, but it's definitely ever present in my mind. Okay, I think it's my turn again. I can't wait for your answers on this. What is the most bizarre or memorable feedback you've received from a student or a client?
I have a couple really great responses, but there's no way I can share them without I mean, anyone who listens to this who knows my students, yeah, there's no way I could share the details, but I love the question. I can say indirectly that I think as an instructor, I've had 2 or 3 students, they left counseling field and they contacted me afterward and said that my teaching had a large part in their decision. And I was kind of hoping there were details after that, and there were. But this goes, Britt, back to your first question, because they were like, well, you were always about, when you had career, there is that piece of what moves you. What are you passionate about? And if you don't know what you're passionate about, that's fine. Then try anything. And if you don't like it, cool. But they said, and they took that to heart. So that was not exactly what I was intending, but it was surprising.
I'm cheating on this question because I can't remember anything a student said to me. I have students come up to me and say things. Remember when you said that, or in your class you said that? That was so meaningful for me. And it's like, that just rolled out of my head. I don't remember saying it, but it sounds cool. And I'm glad I had an influence on your life. The answer that first came to mind was I was doing my master's internship, and I'd been working in addictions for years before and while I was going back for my master's degree in counseling psychology. And the counseling psychology program had an opportunity to work at the psych clinic. And it was their first opportunity that they got folks invited to. The psychology group said, yeah, bring some of your students over to do their internship here. And I think our program deliberately chose people who had been working out in the field in some capacity because they figured they would be better bets towards being, they wanted to build this relationship with the psychology department to have more of their students acceptable into this psych clinic, which had been off limits to counseling psych students at that point. So I went there and did a couple of semesters there, enjoyed it. And the comment I got from the receptionist, who was there 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, she said, so you're leaving, Marty? And I said, yeah, my internship's up. And she goes, we're going to miss you here because all the weird clients really seem to like you. And, she was talking about there's that kind of, I think maybe, it could have been a backhanded insult, but I'll take it as a compliment. She was saying that, I was comfortable working with personality disorders, and I worked with some sociopaths and some narcissists. And those were the, quote, I think in her mind, weird clients that other people couldn't connect with. So I'll take it as a client. I'll take it as a compliment.
I think that's a compliment for sure on a number of levels. Students have said really amazingly kind things to me, and they're usually pretty tame when they're being mean to me. So I'll leave them out of this one. But there are 2 pieces of client feedback that I could definitely brag about. So one is, well, I was called a stone cold bitch by a client who was really quite upset because I would not stash his cocaine supply for him. So that one sort of sticks out in my brain as a badge of pride that I like to wear. And the second is probably my favorite of all time. I had a long-term client who, as we were terminating, told me that he had really enjoyed our time together and that he would like to extend to me a formal invitation to join his vampire community. That one got me in the feels. I mean,
Did you?
it didn't get
Did you
me
take
in the neck.
That was an ask, yeah.
I did not, sadly.
I haven't ever seen you in the daytime, so I can't say,
Oh, that's funny. I would have loved to explore that experience further, at least from an observer standpoint, but I did not go down that path. I hope he's doing well wherever he may be, probably in a coffin somewhere.
Yeah, and hopefully he has a good blood supply.
Let's hope.
the Red Cross. So, well, okay, back to me. What course do you think it's easiest to make fun of in a counselor education curriculum?
Oh, I could pick the low-hanging fruit like career or research or I don't know. Those two are generally the low hanging fruit. But I'm going to say something that will make me not popular at all with people. Anything with CBT in it. If you want to extend that a little further, motivational interviewing. I don't know. The jokes just seem to write themselves with both those courses. That's all I'll say before I get in any more trouble.
I'll agree cautiously with that, Marty. Although I would say DBT is even worse for me. Oh, I can't. Anyway, before we offend our listeners out there, let me move on. How about assessment? Nobody likes assessment. It's easy to find ways to talk about the only people liking assessment being weirdos in some form or fashion. I feel like there's just jokes waiting to be written there. I hope I'm not offending either of you.
Yeah, and I get it. I mean,
It sucks.
assessment is but for me the challenge and the few times I've had to teach it was I'm going to make assessment fun and
Ugh.
relevant.
See, that's a joke in and of itself. Fun and assessment.
Well, okay.
That's my answer. How about you, Elliott?
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, career. I'm just kind of like, has anyone studied careers in the last 20 years? I'm sorry, what? I'm sorry, trait factor, really? It's like that. But again, these are some of these things are like K-crep. You mentioned things that are piercingly true and you get crickets. Of course, the listeners are saying, well, it might be because you're delusional. Of course, that's always a possibility. I never rule that out.
I said career was a low hanging fruit because I knew it was going to come up with you. We've had that discussion of how do you teach careers? How is it relevant? I know that's been an area for you.
I love teaching career. Y'all are killing me here.
Well, I want to redo it. I hope I have time to make that happen.
I don't say I disagree with that. I think career like assessment can be fun and more relevant. I think if we talk about career from a lifespan standpoint, if you talk about career in terms of how people change careers, what is the meaning for careers for people, which are different depending on the individual versus let's talk about crystallization and let's talk about all those theories that you had to learn.
And also, how about just talking about living in basic terror that the rent's not going to get paid, the car payment's not going to get paid? I mean, that motivates a lot of career behaviors today. And we were like this new gilded age and no one's taken it up yet.
Yeah, it used to be you can be anything you want to be, and that was available primarily for white males. But it used to be a aspiration of that course, and you can be how you are best expressed to be. But a lot of times in today's economy, it's I'll do what I need to do to put money on the table, and it's not maybe my love, but it's a job and it pays regular and I can do my hours.
See, that goes back to my first question. This is why I love teaching career. I love it through a social justice lens.
You be you. I think I have the last of our double rounders here. And what is or was the most recent example of how you've been insulted?
That's a great question. My husband told me I have a mom butt. He said that wasn't an insult, but I've lost some weight recently, and so we're gonna say the fact that he's commenting on my changing body is a compliment, but I'm not so sure.
I'm sure it's the wrong thing to do for my search engine, but I'm really curious what people consider a mom butt.
I wouldn't do it at school, Marty. Don't do it on your work computer.
What about you, Elliott?
That's hilarious. Yeah, just in the last year, trying to get meetings with administrators I've known for 25 years and worked well with, although I've been annoying too. I understand that, but even when you're annoyed with people, you've got to work with them, and just getting totally ghosted. It's a different phase. So still working on that.
This question comes from an experience that I had at a board meeting where younger board members were explaining to me how I might not know this because it's a Gen Z thing and I'm a boomer. And that was the first level of insult. That was like, I don't know what's going on in the world besides people of my current age. So that was insulting enough. But then it was followed up with someone in a very passionate place saying, well, they effed it up for all of us, those older folks, and left it for us to fix.
Kind of did.
As you get older, and Elliot, you're not too far behind me. This concept of ageism that I heard a lot about when I was younger becomes one's reality when you get older. And ageism seems to be one of those things that as a society we can ignore. There's a lot of isms out there, but ageism seems to be easily ignored. So this occurred at a board meeting that I was at, and my particular role would not have allowed me to address it, nor it would have taken the whole conversation off topic of what was before the board. So, but yeah, it was rather stinging. And there were a couple of other people around the board with me of that age. I mentioned to them that I had heard that loud and clear. So that was the most recent example of how I've been insulted. It'll happen again.
I know.
So just get used to.
You brought the ageism thing up when you said it. I thought you and we could walk into a bank lobby with bulky coats on and stand right in the middle, and it'd be an hour before anyone even noticed we were there.
So I've got the final shot question, and it is the celebrity that makes you cringe that others seem to love.
Well, I feel like the low-hanging fruit here are the Kardashians. So I'm not going to go with that. That's an easy way out.
And I would argue that not everybody loves them. So it's
Not
again,
everybody.
it's that others seem to love.
Okay. Well, others isn't everybody.
Okay.
I don't have one for everybody, but celebrities that make me cringe are Katy Perry, Ed Sheeran, and I had a third one. Oh, Drake. Who likes Drake? Why? What is there to like? I don't get it.
Elliott.
It's funny because the Kardashian thing came up in my mind. It's clinically puzzling to me. They're not at all interesting to me.
No,
I'm like,
I don't get it either.
The whole thing, but I'm a boomer as well. I'm a boomer. He's a boomer. Two of the three of us are boomers. Wouldn't you like to be a boomer too? Anyway, what was the question? I'm sorry.
What's a celebrity that makes you cringe?
Boy, one does not come to mind. I mean, other than reality, I guess reality TV people, not that they're necessarily celebrities, but in some circles, I guess they are. It depends on what folks watch.
Yeah, this question came to my head because my wife hates Brad Pitt.
Oh.
And she hates him because of that upper lip thing that he does. And I'm like, what upper lip thing? But she really doesn't like Brad Pitt. Now, Brad's done some pretty entertaining movies, outside of that. But I can't get her to watch any of them because Brad Pitt's in them. So I thought about this with myself, and it's got to be Lady Gaga. Yeah, I know, Britt, you're shocked, but I'm sorry. I know she is a symbol, and I know we're all born this way, but frankly, she's running her special on one of the cable channels right now. And every time I tune in to see what's the thing about, it's some version of Born This Way. So yeah, I'm all about gay pride weekend, all that. That's all great. But Lady Gaga just does not do it for me. I don't get it. She makes me cringe. So yeah, what?
Tag on. Notice the older Brad Pitt gets, if you look at him in profile, he looks more and more like Benicio del Toro.
Yes, totally. Yeah. It's true. And also, have you seen Lady Gaga with Tony Bennett? There is nothing sweeter. Come on.
Sweet. I think it's
not cringy. Sweet.
Yeah, it's like,
all right, Marty.
Someone singing with your granddaddy. Okay. Not my thing. So I probably insulted some folks. Probably you have some celebrities that make you cringe, and maybe that question's made you think about it. But I want to thank the squad for tonight, Britt, and also Elliott for joining us. You can find out more about these folks at circularfiringsquad.net. Check out the Tech Savvy Professor podcast hosted by Eric Perry and myself, and also Vision Profiles, a new podcast about the Apple Vision Pro. Our theme music is from Menage a Quad, Real Swing Shet. That's it for this episode of Circular Firing Squad. Ready, fire,